Hi, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on what time you're listening to this show. My name is Eli, and I'm hosting this Decoding Yoga show for you to ask questions to clarify um, myths and doubts that you may have about yoga. Because I have said many times, yoga is a lifestyle. Yoga is not what we do on the mat. Nevertheless, we started the year talking about the physical aspect of the yoga system, talking about asanas, about postures. And I wanted to dedicate this. Actually, we started the conversation in December talking about what asana was and all this called about the postures. And then I wanted to move to the cues, to these instructions that we hear in the yoga classes that sometimes as yoga practitioners we have no clue. I remember my first yoga classes, they will say things and I had no idea what they meant. And also as yoga teachers, we repeat what we have heard without actually pausing. So we started doing that in January, and I decided to keep doing this month. We are already 4th of February, 2023. Time is flying very fast. So I'm going to continue this series for this month as well, because I have received emails and comments from people saying like, hey, thank you so much. Now it makes sense. And I also hear this and hear that. Can you please talk about that? So I chose a few of them we were going to be discussing this month. And then in March, we will have another topic. Anyway, so today I would like to continue with keep your spine straight or flat spine, flat back. Because before I started with all the yoga world and the yoga method and as a system, before I came into yoga, I was teaching Pilates. And in Pilates, we move the spine and it's quite central how we move with control and the hips and especially the spine because it's the center of our body. And we use the core a lot, which is not only the abdominal area. People think that Pilates is all about abs. And abs is one part of it, but it's basically the core of the body. All these structures around mainly the lumbar spine. And we aim to move each vertebrae piece by piece because they are a segment, but they have a space in between them. Anyway, so when I come to the yoga physical part of this system of the asanas in yoga, I now start hitting this other cue: flat spine, straight spine. And for many years, I practiced like that. I always keeping my spine straight. Even you will read in alignment adjustment books that the aim of some forward folds is to have, or the key of the some forward folds is to have the front and the back of your torso on the same length. And even, which that is great because if you keep it in the same length, it means that your spine is neutral. Now, the spine in a neutral position is not straight. The spine in a neutral position has like an S shape. We have 4 curvatures, 4 segments in the spine with different directions of curves. We have the primary curve and the secondary curve. One is concave, the other one is convex. So we have this S shape in the spine, which is what allows us to absorb the shock and to walk in a straight manner. So yes, we want to have that integrity of a neutral spine, not a flat spine. So somehow the idea of having this neutral spine has moved to the flat spine. And lately, in the last years, I have heard teachers saying, think in a back bend when you're going forward. So if you think in a back bend, then your spine will move in different directions. In a forward fold, we start the movement from the hips. That is the mechanic of a forward fold. And then the last part of that movement will come from the spine when you're flexing the spine. So while we get to that little flexion that we will need to finish the pose, our aim is to keep the integrity of the spine. The more functional your movement is when you are on the mat, the more useful that movement will be when you are off the mat. Because always something that we want to think is like how our body moves when we are in our daily life, when you are holding your kids, when you are walking, when you are sitting, how the body moves. And we want to create healthier patterns of movement. And the yoga mat is a perfect place to do that. So it's both sides. Everything that we do in our daily life will come to the mat, and things that we will learn on the mat hopefully will translate to our daily life. So in our daily life, depending on what you do, but I've been emphasizing lately because after COVID, the reality of many of us changed. And a lot of people now work from home. And even if you're in an office, a lot of people work in front of a laptop, irrespective of where, even if you are in front of the beach but you are a nomad with your laptop, we are all facing the same thing, is that our spine is not in a neutral position majority of the time, and that is going to bring some issues, not only the lumbar area but also the neck. I was talking to a friend doctor the other day, and he said that he has seen how these problems in the neck have increased after COVID, because we spend a lot of time with our head down, looking at a phone or something. So our spine is not in a neutral position all day, and we want to have that. So let's use the space on the mat to neutralize the spine, to allow the spine to be in that S shape. So next time when you hear keep your spine flat, keep your spine straight, please remember that the spine is not meant to be straight. In the moment that one of those curvatures loses the shape, we face a condition in the spine. We face pain. We face problems in the spine. And actually, we have to go to the doctor and try to get it fixed. And the best example of this is when people suffer from whiplash in an accident. I was in an accident 25 years ago. And I had the whiplash effect because my body went all the way forward and then all the way back. So with that whiplash, the curvature in my cervical spine kind of like flattened, right? So instead of going in, which is the normal curvature that we have in the cervical spine, it was coming out. So it was kind of like getting into that flat, straight position. And that caused me so much pain in my back because it was compressing nerves. So I spent 6 months in therapy back then. And I remember the machine that they put me in, it was amazing. And I really wish we can all have that chair. It was like a bed, it was for treatment, right? And it has this kind of like wavy movement. So the bed will make those waves that is simulating the curvature in your spine, all the way from your tailbone, your lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, and your neck. And it was amazing, painful because I lost that curvature. But it was amazing to see how the chair was moving in order to encourage my spine to be in that S shape, because that is the shape that we aim to have. So having a flat spine is not healthy. And I mentioned the Pilates at the beginning of this episode because when I'm working with my students now and in yoga practices and we talk about mobility of the spine, I ask them to do one movement that is quite common in Pilates, which is the roll down, the roll up, the roll forward. And when we're seated, we also roll. And that's what name is, roll. And the rolling is coming from the spine. And I always ask them, think that you're rolling over yourself, right? vertebrae by vertebrae. So when you're going down is one by one, that you are rolling over, rounding the whole spine, and then rolling back up. And when we do it on the floor, I noticed that a lot of them will just go flat on the floor. They won't be able to actually roll and try to place one vertebra at a time on the floor and try to unglue the vertebrae one by one off the floor when they were moving in this rolling, because the muscles have tightened so much, keeping that segment all the time in a straight position, that we have been losing that mobility, and they will blame the lack of strength in the abdominal area, which can be a cause. Of course, if you are not strong enough and or your muscles are not strong in the abdominal area, probably you won't be able to come up. And I said, look, believe me, 95% of that movement doesn't come from strength on your abdominal area, on your abdominal muscles, even though you feel them there. But it comes from lack of mobility of your spine. And again, yes, the spine has segments. I cannot just move, I'm going to move my L1 alone. No, of course not. You have to move the whole thing. But and I have seen the lumbar spine behaving like one stiff, fused segment of vertebrae, which indicates lack of mobility, of course. So my theory is that stiffness comes from this cue of keeping your spine straight and flat and elongating and always moving up, which is great, but without causing any distress in this S shape. So don't be afraid, and please try to mobilize your spine in a natural, neutral way. If you are doing a back bend, of course, the curvatures will change. If you're doing a forward fold, of course, they will change, and it's needed to move our spine in different directions. I'm not saying no. I'm actually saying please do that. We need to move the spine laterally. Please add more lateral stretches, twists, back bend, forward folds. The spine needs to move all around its own movement. But let's start moving away from the idea that the spine has to move in a straight, flat way, because that is causing some stiffness. And with the stiffness, pain comes and lack of functionality comes to our life. So let's keep our spine healthier, because as Joseph Pilates said once, you are as young as your spine is mobile. You can be 30, but if your spine is not mobile, you're old. And you can be 80, but if your spine is mobile and functional, you're young. So let's keep ourselves young by keeping our spine mobile, by being aware of our anatomy, and that will help us to have a healthier practice and hopefully a healthier life off the mat. So thank you so much for watching, for listening. I wish you a very good week, and I hope you can join me next Saturday with another episode, and we're going to continue decoding these yoga cues. Have a lovely day. See you soon. Hi, and thank you so much for watching this video. After so many years of teaching in yoga teacher training courses, I realized that a lot of people don't understand exactly what yoga is, or they have a lot of misconceptions and doubts. And that's why I created the podcast Decoding Yoga. Every week, I share a new episode with you where I talk about cues, about postures, about yoga as a lifestyle, about these myths, these doubts, these ideas that we have been repeating in yoga classes, and we don't even know what they mean. We don't understand what those cues mean, and we keep repeating them. So we have repeated so many times that we believe they're true. So I hope you can join me in the next episode. You can watch the video here, or you can look for the show in any of the audio platforms available. And if you have a question, a doubt, you have heard a myth about yoga and you want some clarification, let me know below this video, and I will be happy to create a program to reply to you. Thank you.